Before I start this review, let me get something out of the way. If you're some dumbass whose favorite horror movie is Paranormal Activity the Mark ones, and you're one of those people who feels like they need to laugh and talk the entire movie, then please do everybody who wants to see this movie a favor and just don't go. Like, my audience in this movie was the most annoying audience I've ever had to sit through a movie with. There was some jackass 4 seats down from me who every single scene that was setting up the atmosphere just felt the need to snicker the entire time until about 30 minutes into the movie where I was just done with it. I turned and I stared at him. And I stared at him. And I stared at him, and I knew he knew I was looking until finally he looked over at me, and I just kept staring at him until he looked back up at the screen, and I think he got the picture because I didn't hear any more snickering. But the people who weren't as close to me as this guy, I couldn't really, sway or do that to. So, as I stated, please, if you're somebody who thinks that they need to be a commentator on the entire movie, don't go to the movie, you dumbass. Why the hell are you going to a movie theater anyways? Let people go enjoy the movie that they paid to see. Okay? Don't be selfish, jackass. Welcome to A Study in Celluloid, everybody. I'm Spencer Henderson, and today I'm going to be talking about The Witch, directed by Robert Eggers. The Witch tells the story of a family in America in the 1600s who are banished from their community for their father's almost extremist religious views. So they depart from their community to the edge of this wilderness where they build a house and start to experience supernatural activity out in the wilderness. I loved The Witch. My audience aside, I really, really loved this movie. I thought that it was beautifully directed, and I mean it this movie, there were stretches of this movie where I almost forgot I was watching a movie. I felt like I was watching a documentary about America in the 1600s. I almost want to call it a character study with horror elements sprinkled into it. And what I mean by that is this movie is a slow burner. So much that for the first hour of the movie, there's really only one big scare in the first hour of the movie. And it comes really, really early on in the movie. I was actually really shocked when it showed it. And that brings me to my next point of it, and that is the horror in this movie. It isn't about jump scares in The Witch. It's about showing you something extremely disturbing and uncomfortable, and not gratuitously violent. There are scenes in this movie that are violent and are disturbing, but it's not something like Saw or Hostel where it just wants to shock the audience and make them kind of almost, take advantage of them and make you feel disgusting. This movie more just wants to make you feel uncomfortable. And a movie that I really think you could hold this up to is The Shining. Because The Shining is very similar in the sense that it is the story of a character with horror elements sprinkled into it. It's about this character slowly going unhinged and losing their mind. And The Witch is very, very similar as far as it's about this family kind of slowly coming unhinged and not being able to trust each other. However, there's this looming threat of the witch in the wilderness. Technically, and what I mean by that is on a technical level, The Witch is beautifully made. The cinematography in this movie is awesome. It really, really kind of holds some of the shots for a very long time and makes you feel this really uneasy tension. And there's just something about the entire movie that makes you feel uncomfortable. It's almost like, you shouldn't be watching these moments between these characters. I really don't know. Hypnotic. I guess the word I could use is hypnotic. It almost has felt in parts at times like a David Lynch movie, how it sort of like brings you into this world and you feel like you're watching a living, breathing world. And I think the fact that it just tells the story of this one family, there's really not any other characters, makes it so much more like creepy and personal to this story and the characters within the story. The performances in this movie are all incredible. And I mean, not a single false note in the entire movie from any of these performances, no matter who it was. And I really don't think that is a standout performance, because each of these characters has a really crazy standout moment. And I think one of the particular standout moments in the movie was a scene with Caleb, who's like I think he's 9-year-old son in the movie. And there's one scene about 3/4 of the way into this movie. Anya Taylor-Joy, who plays the main character of this movie, Thomason, she was also really, really good in this movie. I can't wait to see what she does next. But I think the true talent and the true standout of this movie isn't an actor, it's the director, Robert Eggers. I can't wait to see what this guy does next. I hope he sticks to the horror genre. He really knows what he's doing. And it's very, very apparent throughout The Witch that this man knows what he's doing behind the camera. This is a movie I do plan on revisiting probably a couple times. I feel like there's lots of symbolic imagery within this movie, and there's lots of ways to interpret the ending. Which brings me to my one flaw with The Witch that I can think of initially, because, as I said, I was a little bit distracted in this movie. But the last 2 minutes of this movie didn't really do much for me. And I mean, I liked what was happening. I didn't like the way they visually set it up. I was kind of thought it came off a little bit forced and a little bit, I don't know, just the whole entire rest of the movie was so subtle that when the ending happened, it was a little bit outlandish, and I feel like it wasn't too scary. The idea of it, as I already stated, was more scary than what actually happened. And if they would have ended it 2 minutes earlier, and when you see the movie, I think you'll understand where I'm talking about. I think that it would have been a near flawless experience and movie. Overall, I really thought The Witch was a great movie. I thought that the filmmaking in it was fantastic from beginning to end. I thought the performances were outstanding. I thought the cinematography was hypnotic, it seems, and I thought that the score was terrifying. It was just creepy as all hell. And I'm going to give The Witch a 9 out of 10. As I stated, if you're somebody who loves film and you're not some idiot who thinks that jump scares are what embodies horror, then go check out The Witch. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I sure wasn't disappointed. I really like the idea of a character study with horror elements sprinkled into the movie, so it was right up my alley, and I'm really glad I got to see this. However, if you do go see it, I would suggest waiting maybe a week until, I guess, the hype of it kind of dies down, so that you don't have to go in and have the experience that I did. And if you are somebody who goes to the movies and talk, then kiss my ass. I hate you. Coming to you from Colorado, I'm Spencer Henderson, and this is A Study in Celluloid.